Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa is a man under siege following revolt within ruling ZANU-PF and pressure from opposition as he attempts to change laws. President Mnangagwa is increasingly facing accusations of turning his country into an authoritarian state, with a slew of laws on the cards ahead of the crucial elections in 2023 to crush dissent. The latest piece of legislation to cause jitters among Zimbabwe's government critics is the Cybersecurity and Data Protection Act that was signed into law by President Emmerson Mnangagwa on December 3. Authorities say the new law is meant to deal with the alleged abuse of social media, but observers say it is targeting government critics using platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. The Zimbabwe chapter of the Media Institute of Southern Africa said the law had an ominously chilling effect given their far-reaching impact on the ability of civil society to work freely in Zimbabwe. Other proposed laws that have put President Mnangagwa on the spot include the Private Voluntary Organizations Amendment bill that seeks to bar civil society organizations from engaging in political work. The government has also initiated a process to introduce amendments to the criminal code to criminalize citizens' unauthorized negotiations with foreign governments. In essence, the laws seek to curtail and criminalize civil society's work at an unprecedented scale and level that has not been witnessed before in the history of Zimbabwe, Mrs. Zimbabwe said. Phil Nzamchiya, a Harare-based political analyst, said President Mnangagwa was being pushed to use coercive instruments such as draconian laws by pressure from within his ruling party, where a succession battle is brewing. The 79-year-old leader is said to be under pressure from a faction linked to his deputy, Constantino Chiwenga, the former army general who led the 2017 coup that toppled longtime ruler Robert Mugabe. Elite discohesion has been widening within the ruling party, making it inherently unstable, Dr. Nzamchiya said. This has made President Mnangagwa rely more on the coercive apparatus of the state to avoid party disintegration and an internal implosion ahead of the 2023 general elections. President Mnangagwa, who will be seeking a second full term in office in the 2023 polls after succeeding the late Mr. Mugabe during the coup, is also facing spirited opposition from his 2018 opponent Nelson Chamisa. Dr. Nzamchiya said the regime was likely to use the proposed NGO bill to further close the democratic space and silence the growing opposition against President Mnangagwa's rule. If the bill is enacted as it is, the increasingly authoritarian state is likely to use it to ban civil society organizations from associating with any political party, or even to support party policies that are in sync with their goals, vision and objectives, Dr. Nzamchiya added. There can be state efforts to prevent civic education about politics and elections. In the past, the state has used legislation to curtail freedoms of assembly, association, and expression. Citizens in Action Southern Africa, CIASA, a regional alliance of civil society groups, said the raft of laws would lead to erosion of democracy in Zimbabwe. The state's heavy-handedness has resulted in a shrinking civic space, CIASA said in a new analysis focusing on Zimbabwe. Activists and civil society actors who have confronted the regime's actions during the pandemic have been harassed, arbitrarily arrested, and, in some instances, abducted and tortured. Their attempts to protest have been ruthlessly quashed. Civil society has been seriously crippled by stringent surveillance measures and the targeted victimization of critical voices. Although there has been an increased watchdog role of civic groups in Zimbabwe this year, it can be noted that there is a continuous lack of an enabling civic space for the operation of CSOs in Zimbabwe. CIASA singled out the proposed law targeting civil society organizations, saying it was one of the biggest threats to democracy in Zimbabwe. The PVO bill is retrogressive. It violates the right to freedom of association, it said. The concern here is that the provision in the proposed amendment bill of prohibition from political involvement for PVOs is overly broad and vague too, has a potential of being misused to target for persecution CSO leaders, pro-democracy activists, human rights defenders and PVOs that may be involved in promoting and protecting civil and political rights. The bill also gives too much power to the executive to control and interfere with the work of PVOs. It increases the surveillance and monitoring of PVOs. It seeks to criminalize PVOs' work and human rights defending. This will hinder the operations of PVOs, which operate as a watchdog to the government. In a nutshell, the Private Voluntary Organization Bill is an example of a repressive law which increases restrictions on freedoms to express, participate, assemble, and associate.